Let's talk about the fact that the NSC is shedding a few more points, about 9 points today. This is very much the trend over the last 3 or 4 sessions. Your views?
Basically, what we're seeing is the market is correcting itself we had the January effects where the counters gained after the decline in December. So market is correcting itself. We're seeing people coming in to take profits, and we expect it to, but it will stabilize. We expect it to stabilize this week, and we might see it start to rise slightly as banks begin to announce their end-of-year results.
All right, now let's talk about the equities market and the counters to watch. Standard Group Limited doing really well, gaining in the region of 6%, and that's been very much the story over the last week or so. The advertisers doing particularly well. Can we expect this to continue into early 2011?
No, not really, except a lot of it is driven by speculation. So I think it'll just rise up slightly, but should come down towards the end of the week.
All right, let's talk about National Bank of Kenya, up 2.3%. And this follows reports that after 12 years of a hiatus, they will be paying a cash dividend. Investors seem excited about that. Your views on their balance sheet and whether they can afford this?
Yes, actually, I do think they can. They've been waiting a long time for this, and so have the shareholders. And also another thing driving up the stock price is we're expecting a strategic investor by June as the government seeks to get out of National Bank.
Equity Bank also aroused some interest today, with their share price up 2.3%. And this is also one of the 4 banks that have been granted a license to operate with agency banking facilities. Your views on equity, number one. And secondly, this entire controversy, because it has become quite controversial in Kenya, this question of agency banking.
Yes, it has actually, but Equity has turned out to be one of the strongest banks in the Kenyan economy. And although the counter is very speculative, I think it's also supported by very strong fundamentals.
Housing finance also a gainer today, and we know that this is the largest mortgage financier in Kenya, and later on we're going to be discussing trends for the property sector in Kenya. But generally there is a sense that there's an upward trend in the property market, growth of about 8% last year and demand to continue into this year. But what about supply factors?
Basically what we've been seeing over the last 5 years has been a property boom, which we don't expect to slow down anytime soon. I mean, there is demand of about 300,000 housing units a year and supply of about 30,000, which is about 10% of that. So housing finance, we expect it to keep on growing, getting stronger. And we'll be a long way from satisfying the demand in the housing sector.
Talk to us about the shilling. We're seeing it trading in the region of 81 shillings 10 today. It's been under a lot of pressure, obviously, because of dollar strength, because of situation in the Eurozone. Have exporters come back into the market, and are we seeing a bit more vibrant activity on the forex trading desks?
Yes, they have. Actually, corporate demand, which would have declined in December, has come back at the beginning of the year. So, and also there are pressures coming in as with an increase in oil prices. And we also expect it, also with the drought, we do expect the shilling to weaken, to keep on weakening against the dollar going forward.
All right, in terms of what we can expect to see on the fixed income market, the kinds of yields that may come out of Kenya, we know that the government is heavily involved in borrowing on the debt markets in Kenya. Institutional investors had been flooding that sector. Quite a lot of rights issues that we've seen coming up. Just your views on what's going on and the trends we might see in the bond markets going forward.
There's been, from the beginning of this financial year, 2010-2011, we've seen a lot of pressure on on domestic interest rates because of borrowing by Treasury. And we expect this to continue, especially with the biting drought. So this will continue to increase pressure. Also, tax revenues we might not actually hit our targets, considering that we're expecting lower taxes from some of the largest taxpayers, such as Safaricom, East African Breweries Limited, British American Tobacco, with all the new legislation that has been passed, and also with the tariff wars that are going on between Safaricom and Airtel. So we may not hit our targets, tax revenue targets, and this will serve to increase pressure on domestic rates as the government comes more to the domestic market. Also, we were hoping for the Eurobond would be done in the first half of this year, but indications from Treasury are that this might actually be pushed forward to the beginning of the financial year 2011-2012. So, but we are expecting, the market is liquid, and it being the beginning of the year, there's a lot of competition for government paper from banks and institutions.
Okay, we have
trying to meet their targets.